Hi, this is Sandra from freedomsuccesscoaching.com, and this is my video about why I use EFT in my coaching and how to tap. So EFT is a technique, a self-help technique that I came across when I was experiencing anxiety, quite bad anxiety attacks, where I couldn't sleep, I think I had about an hour's sleep in like 3 days. Those horrible feelings of anxiety, the shaking, the feelings of tight chest, just that whole feeling of going mad. Am I going crazy? This fear, it's just this crazy fear and this energy coming through, pulsing through my nervous system, and just horrible energy. Well, the feeling is horrible anyway. So I came across EFT, and I found EFT to be the most helpful thing that I've ever experienced for long-term treatment of anxiety. I'd undergone hypnotherapy, and the hypnotherapy helped in the short term, but in the long term it was emotional freedom technique, or tapping. Now what tapping is essentially is just lightly tapping various acupressure points on the face and the upper body. And what this tapping on the acupressure points actually does is it calms the fight or flight process in the body down. So it actually calms the amygdala down. When they've done scans, they've watched it calm down. When they've done testing with saliva, cortisol levels have gone down. And what this seems to do is creates a sense of calming down the nervous system so that we can start to associate whatever it is that's troubling us with calm instead of that fight or flight. And that can then help change the way we think about something, the way we see something, the way we experience something. It's used for pain management. It's used for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression. It's used to change a mindset around things, limiting beliefs. It's used to change old vows, trauma. It's used for so many things. And in my personal experience of having experienced Gestalt cognitive behavior therapy and hypnotherapy, person-centered therapy, and various other more common therapies in my own experiences of having gone to counsellors and also studying counselling, EFT has been the only thing that's actually helped me. And that's just my own personal experience. Other people may have been helped by these other therapies, but personally, the only thing that's worked for me was EFT. And EFT is what I stick to and what I do. And I still do it myself when I need to do it. So I'm going to show you what the tapping is, the main points that we tap on when I'm tapping with you. I often use what's called the quick tap technique of tapping. So it's not the traditional Gary Craig tapping, where we use the fingers and do the 9 gamut, all these technical things, different points. The method I'm going to show you today is the quick tap method. And I will also include, the first thing I'll show you is what we call the karate chop point. Now the karate chop point is just tapping on the side of the palm of the hand. So if you were to chop something, as to do a karate chop, that's the part we're tapping on. And when we tap on that, we're usually tapping a sentence. And we'll usually start with, even though I feel whatever it is that you're feeling, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Now I know with a lot of people saying that I love, honor, and accept myself isn't comfortable to do. So I generally don't say that. I'll just generally say, and I honour how I feel. So that we start to accept our feelings, honour whatever it is that we're feeling, no matter how embarrassing it is, no matter how wrong it is, no matter how unacceptable it is. It's just about acknowledging it so that we can move on and release it. So that's the karate chop point. And we usually tap on that for 3 sentences of the, even though I feel this anxiety, for example, I honour how I feel. The next point is the eyebrow point. Now the eyebrow point is actually at the tip of the eyebrow the inner eyebrow, and you can tap on both of those points. I usually use 3 fingers so that I make sure that I get the point. So it's not up here. A lot of people like to tap up here. That's not the eyebrow point. The eyebrow point is the tips of where the eyebrows start in the centre of the face. And we usually lightly tap there, about 7 to 10 times. We don't count, we just tap for a phrase. And we'll usually say a phrase. I'll use a very general example, this anxiety. And then we'll move to the next point, which is on the bone here, on the eyes. Now you can use one side, you can use this side, or you can use both together. It doesn't matter. Okay, sometimes you might get, if you're doing a lot of tapping, you'll get tired. So you might want to start with just doing one side, and then when this arm gets tired, you can shift to this one. So we've got the side of the eye here. And then we'll just continue with the sentence, this anxiety. The next point is under the eye, so it's the bone under the eye. So you're tapping under the eye on that bone. The next point is under the nose, so it's under the nose and between the bottom of your nose and your upper lip, there. And then the next point is the cleft of the chin. Now the cleft of the chin is underneath the lower lip and above where the chin points, well, the chin protrudes. And that's another point where we're tapping lightly. The next point is one of the most powerful points, particularly if you're anxious. I find that with anxiety it was one of the most powerful points. And that is this point we call the collarbone point. And the collarbone, you've got your collarbone here, and you've got your sternum going down here. And there's where the collarbone stops, here at the centre, if you sort of go out in a little bit of an angle outwards, you'll find there's an indentation in there. And that indentation is the collarbone point. So again, you can tap with just one hand, or you can tap with both. And then we'll just continue with whatever phrases we're saying. For example, this anxiety. The next point I like to use is under the arm. Now, under the arm is for ladies, it's where the bra strap is. For men, it's roughly about 4 inches under the arm. We tap there, and we're tapping lightly. We're not bashing ourselves, we're tapping lightly, so make sure you're not hurting yourself. And another point that I like to use is on the crown of the head. So it's right on, you've got the crown right in the middle of the head, it's back a little bit, there's a slight indentation, and that's another point that's very popular these days with tapping. So I'm just going to run through an example, a very, very brief general example of tapping on the word anxiety. Okay, so we'd start off with a karate chop point. Even though I feel all of this anxiety, I honour how I feel. Even though I have all of this anxiety coursing through my nervous system, I honour how I feel anyway. Even though I have all of this anxiety when I think about my money, I honour how I feel anyway. And then we'd start on the points, and it's usually start on the eyebrow point. And we just do some phrases. So for example, if it's anxiety over money, it would be all of this anxiety. All of this anxiety around money. This anxiety. Whenever I think of money, all this anxiety. This feeling of anxiety. All of this anxiety. This anxiety. And then we go for another round again, as many times as you feel that you need for that particular phrase. So that's the quick tap method of emotional freedom technique or tapping, with a general example of, say, tapping on anxiety relating to money. Now there's a lot more that goes into tapping than just that, but that's just an example of where to tap and how the process happens. Okay, so that's all for me. I'm Sandra from Freedom Success Coaching, and I will see you on the next video and or our next session. Bye for now.